trying my best.
Yeah, putting this together is not easy. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're live. Hello, guys. We have Naimish from CoinCrunch, and we have Akshay from Blocumen Studios, and we have Abhishek back from CXIHub.
Right.
This is going to be a one hell of a panel discussion filled with a lot of questions, and I'm going to grill them. I hope to grill them because they're industry pioneers and they should ask some tough questions, answer some tough questions. Yeah. So
Yes.
I'll just throw in a question to you guys, and maybe Naimish, you can take the lead, and from there we can move in.
Sure.
Anna's webcam and mic will get fixed hopefully in the next 5 minutes. So Naimish, what are the like? What do you think are the blockchain's biggest wins so far? Everybody in the 2012 were thinking, oh, blockchain is the future, everything is going to move to Bitcoin. And then we came to the perspective where we were saying, oh, let's bank the unbanked. In Africa, the remittance market is going to blockchain is going to solve the remittance market. That didn't happen. The entire move to blockchain didn't happen. And then the ICOs, we got about ICOs, and they were like, oh, blockchain is going to solve the entire crowdfunding ecosystem in the entire world. That didn't happen because there were so many scams out there. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
all were scams, but I'm sorry to say, but 99% of them were just scams.
Yeah.
And then, so I just want to understand, when is that moment for blockchain is going to come? I understand that with Bitcoin, we have some progress in the financial market, and we are seeing some replacement to money a little bit. But why should we keep using blockchain? Besides Bitcoin, what's the next win for blockchain is going to be like, according to you guys?
Okay, I'll start. Right. So, man, see, blockchain or Bitcoin or anything is more of, it follows the same principles that any startup would follow, right? There are huge targets, right? The expectation is amazing out of it because the builder is going to think, or the supporters are going to think that they've built the holy grail of everything, right? So there's nothing wrong in expecting in 2012 that Bitcoin will be the currency used by everybody in 2020. Okay, that's a target that they set. It didn't happen because of a lot of factors, and you need to keep readjusting your targets, readjusting your strategy, and it is happening. I think that the biggest win for blockchain is that every government in the world is now talking about it, right? No, it's not that it got swept away under the rug. Even Bitcoin did not get swept away. People are now afraid. The governments are now scared that there is a parallel finance going, and I think that brings more governance, better governance into the ecosystem, and I think that's the biggest win for Bitcoin or blockchain. If Bitcoin doesn't survive, it doesn't have to survive for 100 years. Okay, it might not survive for 50 years as well. There will be something toppling it very soon. You never know. But at least it started this conversation where people are more aware and people know that how the governments are working and how much corruption there can be and how it can be avoided. And that conversation should have happened a lot, many years ago, but it's happening now. And that's probably the biggest win for blockchain, according to me.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Akshay, you want to take on that?
Sure. I mean, the biggest win for blockchain is, in my mind, is the idea that the current financial system uh, can be completely revamped and sort of uh, really problems leading to deep someone in
Akshay, can you please come closer to your mic a little bit? Just
You said
it's unclear a little. Yeah.
is it better now?
Yeah. It's
Yeah, so I think the biggest has got to be from the standpoint where it came from, and we're sort of the place where it's quite difficult to see that Bitcoin is blockchain-based systems.
Akshay,
Yeah,
Akshay's audio is breaking up, I think.
my audio is breaking.
Yeah.
Wait,
Maybe, Akshay, maybe can you refresh it because that almost always works.
Abhishek, do you wanna put on that while we wait for
Yeah.
Yes, we already have governments having regulations for crypto and blockchain now. So I agree with Namesh that Bitcoin we might or might not see Bitcoin for 50 or 100 of years. Like when we have positive regulation, have a ecosystem to raise funds and to build around the blockchain. So we will see new assets, new coins, more efficient ones were taking over. So so this all started with Bitcoin, but it may not end with it.
Yeah. Akshay, do you want to take on that? The
Yeah.
blockchain's biggest wins,
Am I
according to you?
hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it better?
You're stuck, man. Okay.
I think Bitcoin blockchain technology's biggest win would be to have no more internet issues. To be very honest.
Yeah. And that probably is going to take a long time because if centralized authorities centralized entity can't fix it, then distributed will
We should
take
tweet
time.
Elon. We should tweet Elon Musk to speed up the Starlink project.
Yeah. Okay.
Akshay is back. Akshay is back. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think my two bits, what I think is the biggest win for blockchain is sort of the whole idea that financial system has some issues in it being easy to be defrauded, it being easy to cheat within the system, and then sort of it being easy to lose money. And on top of that, you're looking at something which is more evolved in the sense that it's completely traceable and auditable, right? So all of this sort of takes it to the level wherein all things that happen in the financial system, take the impact to the level that governments will be forced to adopt crypto-backed currencies, in the sense that there is no possibility of tax evasions once systems like these come in place, right? So I mean, we have established the ground, the ground. What do you say? MVPs for that. We have proved that it works at decent in a decentralized way, and I think now is the time when it will start getting mainstream institutions together, taking away the powers that make all of the system corruptible. At the same time, sort of being able to realize values within these networks. So I feel that's the power of Bitcoin, blockchain, and anything to do with essentially cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Anna, are you there by any chance? Can you hear me? Okay. Well, we'll come back to that later. Yeah, I mean that makes sense, guys. I mean, but still, I believe that apart from the financial that change that we have seen in the last decade, the biggest win for blockchain is still to come. Probably you guys might think that it's already there, but I think the potential is there. So I'm very optimistic about it, so for the future, for sure. Okay. Omkar and I were discussing about this fact that Bitcoin toppling governments, Bitcoin toppling the banks at some point in the future, very 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 far away in the future. And Naimish pointed out that that's a bit pessimistic view. So Naimish, do you wanna take a different take on that?
That was that was not the pessimistic view. Okay, the
All right.
pessimistic view was that Bitcoin toppling the government and becoming the government. Okay, so that is where I was. So Omkar said that if Bitcoin topples the government, whoever has the highest number of control in Bitcoin, then becomes the government, right? To which I wanted to say that at the end of the day, we might think that Bitcoin is very centralized, China is controlling the mining, a lot of wallets have a lot of Bitcoins, but I have the option to leave it. I don't have to really follow what they order. And if Bitcoin topples the government, I'm sure there will be other decentralized assets which are competing with that particular with all the currencies that are trying to be on the top, right? And this is always going to happen, and that's the optimism about decentralization, that if people just understand the importance of distribution and decentralization, we might come to a point where the governance will be based on math instead of bureaucrats or politicians sitting on the top. That's the optimistic view that I have. I don't think that if a cryptocurrency or a decentralized network topples the government, they become the government, because then there will be more audit, there will be more scrutiny onto anybody who's getting into the space. That's what I mean.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with that. On on this point basically because I see all these new currencies eventually making new digital governments, right? So I see today when the humans interact at biggest scales on platforms, right? And I believe all these platforms are sort of digital territories in itself. So today we're looking at flow of money being happening from one area, probably in India, to let's say across the globe in the US. You could also think why couldn't you, if you can create a bank account or have sort of lending happen digitally, why can't you be a digital citizen in itself? And let's say today my sort of association with location does not have to say what my views are in terms of a particular subject. So all of that sort of ties in very nicely. You could be a citizen to whatever government you want, established digitally, and I think that's the next wave anyway.
So
Yeah.
what Bitcoin would be a parallel economy. It would exist. Bitcoin won't take over any government or anything. But those are just hypothetical things. But obviously, Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies would exist as a parallel economy, and people would have a choice to use like crypto for some kind of things and fiat for some kind of things. Well, it is up to the people. The people have to be aware of it. We basically more and more people using crypto, more and more decentralized it gets.
Yeah.
So that's all.
I'll just I'll throw in a question because I was speaking with a couple of people who are investors in like stock markets, and in this during crisis they're investing everywhere basically, and they are considering investing in crypto, probably mostly in Bitcoin, hopefully. So their question to me was, Anupam, like, what if oil can go to zero, so can Bitcoin? You know, like how the hell, if a commodity like oil can go to zero, then how do you expect me to think that one day Bitcoin will not go to zero? I mean, understand that this guy does not have any technical knowledge about Bitcoin. He's a normal person who is an investor. So what do you guys have to think about that? Akshay, do you want to take on that first?
Sure. So, I mean, he's probably right in the sense that anything that stops getting value on the point of, if there's no demand for something, suddenly, if tomorrow there is no demand for computation, or like there is no source of computation available, in some way, you will get rid of all cryptocurrencies, forget just Bitcoin, right? But at the same time, you have to realize what is the inherent demand about. The demand on the cryptocurrency level is about sort of a decentralized way of finance, sort of a belief in an alternate financial way, as Abhishek pointed out. And if that stays, if that belief, which I feel is only growing with time, if that stays, I mean, you're not going to see people moving away, and hence the value would not come down ever in that tunes.
See, I
Yeah.
would like to bring in some figures also. Like the stock all combined is approximately 40 to 45 trillions all over the globe. And if you add the Bitcoin, the crypto market cap it is barely zero point 0.3 trillion, 300 billion dollars. So there is a very long way to go. Now, if the stocks have been in existence for a very long time, and we saw frauds in IPOs also. The
Yeah.
Harshad Mehta scam, which was like a very famous one in India, and obviously, so like we when there is something new, it is exploited at the first, because you know how people are.
Yeah, Naimish, you
Uh,
want to take on that? Like, how would you
yeah,
explain that person in particular in a normal, like, not so technical way so that he understands?
yeah. I mean, okay. So first of all, Harshad Mehta, we call it a scam, but he just exploited a loophole. Okay, that was a very smart.
Yes.
And I think,
And
I
ICOs were
think we
also
should
a
reward.
loophole. ICOs
We
were also a loophole, actually.
Yeah. So we should
I mean,
no, but
not
I think
totally the whole ICO as a format, right?
is entirely a loophole for sure. Like moving out of the entire
Yeah,
ecosystem and doing it yourself. So
exactly.
the thing is that I feel like loophole people who exploit loopholes should also be rewarded. I mean, there should be a reward for it so that they don't do it further, and they are sort of able
Yes.
to help the governments and help people get the right things out there. But that keeping aside, to answer Anupam's question, first of all, oil did not go to zero. Okay, oil, just the few May expiring futures of oil went to zero or negative because, come on, we are in a unprecedented crisis right now. Nobody needs fuel right now because there's a lockdown
Nobody is
situation,
moving anywhere.
and that's why oil went into negative, because these were physical deliveries we are talking about, right?
Yeah.
So the media has a tendency of blowing things out of proportion, and that is what happened with the oil futures as well, right? Even I was shocked in the beginning. It was only that after I read a lot, I understood that these are just May futures. So oil did not go to zero. The spot market on oil is still going. It rose like 20% the other day. So to that question, oil never went to zero. So maybe Bitcoin will never go to zero because there will always be some people using it, right? There are always governments which are supporting it. The smaller countries are supporting it because they know that this is a good business idea, business opportunity for them.
But Akshay pointed out saying that if the computation demand goes down, don't nobody
Yes.
wants to mine.
Which I don't think ever will, because we're just
But
seeing unprecedented adoption of devices at the moment,
Of
right?
course,
This is
yeah,
big edge level everywhere.
And don't forget the growth of technology. Once we move to quantum computing, the silicon would be obsolete and it would go cheap, and we would see like very cheap miners, and like, so Bitcoin mining would be inexpensive when
yeah,
we
no,
have.
at the end of the day, there are always anomalies that can bring Bitcoin to zero, right? But that is the case with everything. We are not saying invest in Bitcoin because it's a sure shot, money making investment. We are saying invest in Bitcoin because if you put in like 100,000 rupees now, 1 lakh rupees now, it may go to zero, but it will not. It should not affect your net worth as such. But if the bet works, right, if it becomes that global currency that we are expecting it to become, you can make that 1 lakh into 100x easily, right? That is what we or any analyst is saying, that it's a bet that you are making against. It's an early stage startup. You're investing money in it. It can go down to zero, but if it doesn't go down to zero, imagine the potential that you can make out of it, right? That is the game, and that is where most investors also miss, and that is why they sort of lose money. It's only that 1-2% of the people in the world making a lot of money because they take these bets, right?
right,
Also,
yeah,
this
Invest only with that much which they are ready to lose.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just want to point out, Namish, that you called hundreds of billions of dollars worth of crypto and specifically Bitcoin as early stage. So imagine, just in the terms are,
I
all of us believe that it is just, sort of the starting point for networks like these.
I kind of sort of lost you there because of my network, I think, but okay.
I mean, I'm just
Okay. So there's one question that I would like to ask all three of you.
Yes.
Because Naimish work is at CoinCrunch and he's doing great job by educating people about it. And CXIHub also, want to educate people about it. And Akshay, I know him for a long time. He has been working tirelessly to, educate people about Bitcoin and stuff. So I don't. I still think for a normal person to understand and put his money in blockchain, for instance, whoever salon guy, my salon guy want to put money in Bitcoin. There is a huge learning curve. I mean, we are computer guys. Maybe we have access to all these things, and we read about it, and we were like, okay, we read the white paper, and we decided to put in our money. But like, where do you guys see challenges in educating the general people in India? Like, oh my God, the regulations are also there. Government is saying it's a scam, and all of these don't, like they pile up on their head of like, irregularities in the system in itself. So how do you guys go about like, okay, making sure that educating in the right way, making sure that they invest enough amount of money so that they can lose, like Naimish pointed out. And I think it's a huge learning curve. And if you think that's possible further down the line, how many years do you think in India that people will actually start learning about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Not us, not 0.001%, but like people in general.
who wants to go first on this one? It's a
Yes,
tough one.
I think I'll just share right with. So I remember 2016 when we went. We used to have about 12, 13 people in all of our meetups that we organized at Blockchain India, right? And it was so in fact, whatever we used to say used to be challenged in one idea or the other. In fact, just the fact that how a consensus mechanism works, technical term, everything was challenged, right? It was so difficult for everyone to grasp, and some of us ourselves, contradicted because there was not enough information available out there. Forget in vernacular languages, right? I'm just talking about languages like English, right? So, I mean, I think from there, where 15, 20 people got together and thought of it as a cult, now we've grown to the point that there are lakhs of us, right? Now, the point there that I want to say is first, it began as an idea. Today, we have a lot of prototypes that are working, right? So, we saw a couple of founders being arrested trying to serve the consumers on the end of, try to take it off like an ATM does, like just take it off of a kiosk. But now, when you have such systems placed and people are interfacing with it, that's when you'll realize what are the loopholes in terms of getting them onboarded for the first time, getting
Yeah.
them and then you get to the phase that you make it easy, right? But at the same time, you have to realize that everybody that sees potential. So, for example, if five of us try and two of us become fans of it, we automatically become the word of mouth, sort of like priests that spread the gospel of Bitcoin. And I feel that's going to happen so rapidly in the moving times that probably in 10 years, we're going to look at it being like one of the established mainstream ways alongside other probable ways that will come up. And cryptocurrencies itself will evolve, right? It will become so easy to, sort of do everything, right? Maybe quantum computing helps in some way or the other. Maybe IoT devices help in some way or the other. So I think the challenges today are, sort of ensuring that each and everyone tries, whoever sort of feels like it, providing them with a way to try, right? And then sort of it gets easier. For example, reward points are a very minute way to get someone into the loop of trying cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. Naimish, I want to get your opinion
Yeah.
on this.
Okay.
How do we go about educating without giving away the narrative of buy put your 1 lakh today and it might turn to 10 lakh. Without giving that narrative, how do we educate the people of India about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies?
Okay, this is not going to go around with what you probably have figured in your head. But okay, let me just say that larger group of people, okay, a huge population of people will believe something fictional than something real. That is why there are so many people believing in God right now. So many people believing in stories that probably never happened, right? And they're just in books. That is something that what you can challenge, human brain is going to challenge that. Okay, if I'm going to go to Akshay and say that buy Bitcoin, the first question is going to be why, right? But if I go to Akshay and say, you know what, just go to this temple and donate a certain rupees, he might, as a logical person, he might ask why. But if a priest goes to him and says that, he might just do it because okay, that's something that we can't see whether it will work or not. But we all can see how Bitcoin can work, and that's why people scrutinize it a lot. So the only way to get more people interested is that peer-to-peer connection or word of mouth, wherein one guy says, I put 1 lakh rupees in Bitcoin and it became 10 lakhs. So somebody else is going to put. That is the only way that people are getting into Bitcoin. Lay person is going to get into Bitcoin. They're not going to care about technology. They're not going to care about why it is important. They're just going to get there. Once they have made their first investment, whether they make profit or they lose, it is going to interest them into learning more about it. Okay, not all of them, but maybe 50% of them, right? So only then they will be interested in learning more, and we just need to cater to these people who are interested in learning more. We cannot nice dog. We cannot go about on the streets talking to every person and telling them what Bitcoin is, because that's unproductive. Okay, we need it to take its own time, and they need to get in. They need to understand it themselves, and only once they've taken that first step, we can help them bring to the level that we are now. Okay, so I don't think that there is any way we can go about educating people. I just think that we have to let them come in, and then we have to take care of them. That's how I think we should.
That's a pretty interesting perspective. Yeah, that did not sound like that in my head. You were right. Yeah.
So
Abhishek, you want to take on that? Yeah.
yes. I want to say something. So actually, the people we as a community, the 1%, what Anupam asked, that when will the 99% people come to the crypto. So I believe that crypto has to be
Did we lose him?
We lost him. Yeah, you were right about internet on blockchain. Anyway, yeah, guys, I just want to ask one last question to both of you. Like, just say yes or no. Do you think that halving is priced in?
Yes. I thought 8,500 will be the price right now. So for me, yes.
I probably
Akshay?
agree. Well, I probably agree.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think this is the time we have, guys. I can't thank you enough for joining. Yeah, yeah, really, thanks for taking out time, and
Would
I
have
hope.
been great to get some thoughts out from Ukraine, but I think there was some issue with
Yes,
analysis.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'll try to make sure that she joins the next panel if she can. If you can hear me, Anna, like yeah, I'll see you later in the day. And then Naimish and Akshay, please thanks a lot. Yeah, I hope to see you guys soon in physical world also when all of this settles down. Otherwise, I'm gonna organize another one of Road to Metal offices in a couple of months, and then I'll have you invited for sure.
Thank you, Anupam. Kudos to you
Yeah,
for putting this up.
yeah, no
Yeah,
worries.
man, this is brilliant. I'm enjoying the sessions. Great work, man,
Thanks
Anupam.
a lot, guys. Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Akshay. Thanks. Nice to meet you again after so long.
Yeah,
Likewise,
bye.
let's catch
All
up.
right, bye bye. Hey, Abhishek, we just said goodbye.